welcome back, kings and queens, and welcome if you're new here. My name is Hope King, and I'm the designer behind King's Designs MD. Today, I just wanted to show you how I made my African hand fan. I say African hand fan because I have watched quite a few African designers, and that's where I give credit to this fan coming from. Some people call it the bridal hand fan, some people just call it hand fan, but mainly this particular style of fan I have seen African designers make. Some have done it in Ankara fabric. So I just wanted to tell you guys that so that you can search other videos if you happen to like this and maybe want to try a different way. Now, I modified mine a little bit, and I'm going to try to show you guys the easiest way possible. If you can see, I actually sewed the end of my fabric and made a casing to put this in, but I want to show you guys the simplest way possible to make something like this, so stay tuned. Alright, so if you want to make this project, I'm going to tell you, you're going to need probably about a half a yard of fabric. If you just want to go out and buy fabric, I will tell you get a half a yard of fabric. You want to get something that's like broadcloth, that's going to be about 44 to 45 inches. You're going to need 45 inches by 5 of interfacing. So if you get a long sheet of interfacing, cut it 45 by 5. Your fabric is going to be cut 45 by 11. You will need popsicle sticks. I got these sticks from Dollar Tree. You're going to need popsicle sticks. You're going to need a hand needle. You're going to need thread. I use Velcro dots for mine. That is optional. You don't have to use that. I also use a hot glue gun, of course, glue sticks, sewing machine, and I believe that is all you need for the video. And I'm going to try to upload a final list of everything you'll need to make this. This one is a little more complicated in terms of some of the videos I've made, but sit tight. We're going to try to do this the best we can. Okay, so I'm at my crafting table. I am over here with my popsicle sticks. So the first thing we're going to do, and these came from Dollar Tree. First thing we're going to do is put 2 popsicle sticks together. So this is one that I already have prepared. And I want my popsicle sticks to be, I think it's about 9 inches is what I originally measured when I put the 2 together. That I felt like was a good length for me. Yep, 9 inches. So you want these 2 when they're together to lay on top of each other and be at about 9 inches in measurement when they're done. So I'm just going to get this glue going, and please be careful, guys. I have a special knack for burning myself with hot glue, so please be careful when you're doing this project. So we're just going to lay it on top of there and make sure it gets to that 9 inches in length. You're going to need 4 popsicle sticks because you're going to do this twice. So I've done this one, and don't do it on top of your fabric. As you can see, I got glue on mine, even though it really doesn't matter because you're going to glue it to your fabric anyway, but try not to make a mess. So I've done my second set of popsicle sticks, and you want to try to make sure that they are as even as possible because these are going to be your handles when all is said and done. Now, the reason I said it didn't really matter about the glue, you want to be careful, but it doesn't matter, is because, again, you will be gluing this to your fabric. So I grabbed a piece of my fabric, and I've measured my fabric to be 7 inches by about 4 inches. Now, one of the things is you want to cover the end of your handle at the bottom. The top doesn't matter as much because it will be hidden inside of your handles. So you'll see what I mean as I'm going along. So you want to get that glue in there. And again, I told you guys, I try to be careful because I got a history with glue. So you want to get that in there. And I'm trying to work around my camera, so I'm sorry. But you just want to wrap it. And ultimately at the end, you want to fold this in inside so that you get a nice clean edge on this end and it's not the frayed fabric sticking out. So if you kept just wrapping it, you'd have all that hanging off. But if you fold this part down inside, and you can glue that down if you want as you're wrapping it, but continue to wrap that way, then, and make sure it's tight as you go along, then when you get to the end, you're going to have that nice finished looking edge on the outside. So I'm gluing and I'm wrapping, and like I said, you want to make sure it's as tight as possible. And if you want, you can iron that part down. A lot of people, when they sew, they press or iron down just so they can have that good finished edge. And I know mine's not even and straight, guys. This is really for the concept for you guys because I don't want to make the video too long. So get that nice edge going, wrap it, and then glue that final piece down. Now you do want to be careful with your glue, not just because of burning your fingers, but you want to be careful with your glue so you don't get seepage on this final edge. And if you have a different glue, if you don't want to use hot glue and you have a preferred glue, you can use whatever you want. Hot glue just makes it go a little bit faster. And like I said, when I did my original version for myself, I didn't use hot glue on this part. I actually sewed a casing. So if you're a seamstress and you know about this part, just sew your casing and you can slide your popsicle stick right inside of the casing. But you want to, in my opinion, try to make this part as neat as possible because this is the part that you're going to see the most. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing on my second popsicle stick, and that glue is not hot, but it's still tacky. So I'm doing the same thing on my second popsicle stick. This part sticking out the top is okay because when you bring your other piece of fabric in, it will cover it up. So again, I'm doing the same thing again. I'm bringing my bottom edge up first in case I didn't say that the first time. You don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. You're wrapping this in your casing, creating your casing. You're being careful not to burn yourself because hot glue is hot. And you're bringing these pieces in and folding and wrapping around. Just want to keep it as taut as possible so you don't have loose fabric kind of wiggling and jiggling everywhere on your fan handle. And you want to try to be neat with your hot glue so you don't get that seepage like that. And that was originally why I did not want to use hot glue on my original fan, because I wanted to make sure I didn't have seepage and things sticking out of my handle. So we have those handles done, and those are samples of the other handles. And I don't know what I've done with my original fan now, but it looks a little different, but I wanted to make it as easy as possible for people. Alright, so I'm back, and this is Heat and Bond Light. Now what you're going to need is 45 inches of Heat and Bond Light by 5 inches of Heat and Bond Light. So mine comes on a roll, some people's comes on sheets. You just want to roll it out and measure 45 by 5. So I am measuring down 5 inches from the top. Where's my little man? Sorry guys, I was looking for a pin to mark with. If you heard me say, where's my little man? I like this little pin with the head on the end. But I'm going down from the top 45 inches and I'm marking down at 5 inches. Now I'm going to do that all the way across to get 45 inches this way. So 5 inches down from here, and then we're going to go all the way across 45 inches here. So I have mine marked down to 45, and I'm just going to cut it all the way off at 45 inches, because I can get multiple fans out of this, and then I'm going to cut all the way over down to my 5-inch line. Now, it's hard to see, but I have little markings at like every 10 inches to make sure I keep it straight. If you can't do that, just get a ruler and mark it so that you can keep it straight. Now, I have my piece all cut off. I'm just going to roll this up and set it to the side, because the next thing I need to do is make sure I cut the fabric for this to go on. So, I need to cut my fabric 11 by 45. So we want our fabric to be as wide as this, but we want it to be a little bit longer this way so that it can fold over and tuck in. So the next thing you want to do is iron your interfacing on, but you want to make sure it's about 1 inch down. Sorry guys, my camera looks blurry. Okay, there we go. You want to make sure it's about 1 inch down so that when you're done ironing, you can be able to fold this into the inside. So keep it about 1 inch down and press it all the way across. Now, if you haven't used Heat and Bond before, you can do this with a dry iron, or you can use your Cricut Mini. I'm using my Cricut Mini today. You just want to move it around and let that Heat and Bond take effect. It's going to adhere to your fabric, and you'll see the difference in when it adheres to your fabric. Once it's fully adhered, you will peel it off. So I'm going to finish ironing and I'll be back. Alright, now once you get your Heat and Bond all pressed down, it will peel back like that. So you just want to peel it all the way off and come back. Okay, once you get your Heat and Bond peeled off, you just want to fold your edge down and press that. Now, I want to press mine simply because when you take it to your sewing machine, it just makes it easier to sew your seam. So press it all the way down. And then the next thing you want to do after you press that side all the way down, you want to bring this edge up and press this all the way down. Now, you want your insides to be inward, so you want to fold that down and make sure these edges meet when you go to press. So this edge is folded in and pressed down. This side will be folded over, and you want to make sure when it is folded over that this edge is folded down as well, so you have a nice clean edge. Alright, so I have my pieces pressed and folded down. I don't do a whole lot of sewing with pins and clips, but if you need pins and clips, now is the time. You want to put your pins in as you go along. I personally, when I do use pins, I like to put them this way instead of this way. I find it easier to pull out of the sewing machine, pull out when you're at your sewing machine. So I'm doing some one-handed recording, but this is what I mean by putting my pins this way. I know some people put them this way, but this is just my personal preference. So you want to pin all the way down or clip all the way down if you use pins and clips. Alright, so I just have my machine in front of me, and it's just set to a regular straight stitch. You don't need anything fancy. So you just want to sew the edge of your fabric. I have my fabric on my machine. I'm still doing one-handed recording, so forgive me. Just getting started, back stitch, and keep sewing. Now, this probably would have been a great video to do for crafting in heels, because I would have a partner helping me to video, but I usually don't sew in high heel shoes. It makes me sew a little bit faster than I want to. So just bear with me, guys. So if anybody wants to know what setting I'm using, or measurement I'm using. I'm just using the edge of my foot as my guideline in terms of measurement. Now, if you get a pucker in your fabric like that, that's because I'm, again, one-handed sewing. You can move and manipulate your fabric as you need to. To me, a whole lot of precision is not required in this. If you're a beginning seamstress and you are worried about getting exact measurements and all that stuff, this is not a project to even worry about that. If you come close, you're going to be all right. Now, this next part is probably going to be the most tedious part. You actually want to put your popsicle sticks in and make sure you clip your threads if you have any thread tails from sewing. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could have glued that entire part or use hemming tape to put this together. So if you don't have a sewing machine, not the end of the world. But get as close to the top with your popsicle stick as possible. And this is why I wrapped my popsicle stick up so high. You want this part to fall inside. So get it as close to that top as possible. And then we are going to glue it down and wrap again. And I want to make sure that it's completely tucked in the inside. So when you're doing your gluing and wrapping, wrap as many times as you feel like you need to make sure that that is covered up inside. So here we go. I'm getting my stick glued down close to the top. And the reason why that's important is because it gives some stability to your fabric when you put your fan together. All right, so we have it wrapped one time. I'm going to glue again. And you can be liberal with your glue. Just be careful with your glue and with your wrapping. So you want to get that tight in there. So that's the second time. And I am going to go in one more time with my glue and with my wrapping, just so I can get a nice pretty edge. So there we go. Got some glue, got some wrapping, and I want to get it in there tight. So glue, wrapping, get it in there tight. Now, whatever side you had up on this end, we want to make sure we have up on the other end. So basically we're moving from this end, going all the way down to the other end, still face up, and we're doing the exact same thing on this side. So we are going to glue that popsicle stick down and come back. So I have my ends glued down, and you know, if you use hot glue, you know it leaves these little spider webs or strings or whatever people want to call them. So I have my two ends glued down, and the next part is what I said is probably the most tedious part. You will be flipping your fabric back and forth until you get to the other end. So I'm going to hold this up. Okay, so this is probably going to be, like I said, the most tedious part. I have my fabric in my hand, and all I'm going to do is flip it back against that part of the fabric, and then flip it back again against the next part of the fabric. And you're going to go back and forth, kind of like you're pleating the fabric or making it accordion style, going back and forth. So that's all you're doing. You see these pleats starting, so you just go back and go back. Now some people might like to do it face down on the desktop, whatever works for you, but you're just making it go back and forth, and you want to try to keep it as even as possible as you go back and forth. And so you do that all the way until you get to the other end of the fabric. Now, when you're done, you should have all of your fabric in your hand accordion style like this. The next thing you're going to have to do, and some people like to use a hairband to hold this into place while they're doing it. And so if you have a hairband, a rubber band, something like that, you can use it. So you take your rubber band and you wrap it around just to hold all your fabric into place until you get to the next step. So everything's here, everything's in place. So I'm using white thread so that you guys can see, but I have a needle threaded, and all you're going to do is run your thread through the top of the fan, go through all the fabric at the top of the fan, and you don't have to go through all your fabric at one time. You can go through a couple of pieces at a time and just pull through, but you want to ultimately have 3 rows of thread. So I'm going to sew a row here, I'm going to sew a row through the middle, and I'm going to sew a row through the end. And I am just going through each layer of fabric. You want to make sure you're catching each layer of fabric as you're going through. And this is why the having a rubber band or some type of hair pulley, scrunchie, whatever, can be helpful, because it will hold everything into place so you don't have to do it by hand. And as you're sewing, you just want to give it a nice little tug as you're going through the different layers. You don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want to pop your thread, but you definitely want to give it a little tug as you're going along. Alright, so I'm going to finish on through my top, my one layer here, another through the middle, and one in the back, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gotten all of my seams sewn, and I would not be using white thread except for the fact that I wanted to show you guys. So now when you open it up, you have a fan. Now some people like to put decoration on the inside of their fan. I'm not doing all that, but I will show you how I put my Velcro dots on. My Velcro dots essentially already have adhesive on them. These are Velcro dots. These are Crafter Squares. So I couldn't remember if I got these from Family Dollar or Dollar Tree. You guys know I do a lot of my shopping at Dollar Tree. But I'm thinking I got these from Family Dollar for some reason. But anyway, these already have adhesive on them. So what I'm going to do, people would say a male and a female. I'm going to take these two things off. One is a rough surface, one is a smoother surface. Taking the two, I like to stick mine together and then place them on the inside part of your fan. So you want to make sure your fan is completely open up. Stick your Velcro dots on here, and then once your fan is open, your fan can be held that way. Now some people want their Velcro dots on the opposite side so that when they close their fan up, they could possibly put a piece of fabric around it and put your Velcro dots there. You can do this, you can do it however you want, but this is how I did mine. And again, this is why you want to make sure everything's wrapped on the inside and that you don't have seepage, because it can possibly show. If this is something just for you, you want to have it, you know, do it how you want. But like I said, some people put embellishments on here, buttons, all kinds of things to enhance it, make it look cute. I'm not one of those people that like a whole lot of buttons and stuff on my stuff, but if you want some bling on there, you can add bling, whatever floats your boat. But I hope this helps somebody. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have a great day. If this helped you, remember to go help somebody else.